So I'm here today for our Interviews with Experts segment with Matt Judah, who's a student here in the Department of Psychology and has had quite a bit of experience working with mindfulness and stress. So, Matt,
Yeah.
would you mind telling us a little bit more about who you are? What do you do here in the department?
Yeah, so I'm a fifth year clinical graduate student, and I mainly study anxiety disorders and depression. And mindfulness there's evidence supporting that it can be helpful with those types of problems.
Okay. I know you've had some experience here in the department with a group that we run in our clinic called the Mindfulness Stress Reduction Group. Can you tell us a little bit more about what happens there?
Yeah, so the group is meets for 8 weeks and for about 2 hours a night, and we do a variety of different exercises practicing mindfulness. And what mindfulness is, it's a meditation practice that comes out of Buddhist philosophy, and it's paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And those three elements are really critical to the meditation being mindfulness rather than some type of other cognitive process.
Okay. You mentioned it comes from a Buddhist tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to have a particular religious point of view, or does it conflict with religious point of views to practice mindfulness?
No, so mindfulness entered into the mainstream of psychology through a guy, I think back in the 70s, named John Kabat-Zinn, who was doing some research and came across these meditation practices that were used in Buddhism and other Eastern religious traditions. And really at the core of mindfulness, and the reason why we think it can be helpful psychologically, is not really because of its spiritual background, but more because of how it affects attention and the way that people think about their thoughts and emotions and how that affects how they experience it.
Okay. You mentioned that it's sort of been brought in the mainstream of psychology, and I know it's sort of integrated with lots of other therapies and approaches. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's been integrated into CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. So now you have mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. It's also used as an adjunct to a number of different approaches to treat anxiety and mood disorders, chronic pain, and other problems. It also is a pretty important part of third wave behavior therapies, including dialectical behavior therapy and ACT.
Okay. Can you say a little bit more about why mindfulness as a way of being might be helpful with dealing with stress or anxiety?
Right. So one thing that we think causes people to have problems with anxiety and depression is sort of this role of secondary emotions or reactions to your thoughts and feelings. So, for instance, if you have a thought that you think you shouldn't have, or you have a feeling that you think you shouldn't have, sort of beating yourself up, judging yourself, feeling guilt and shame, or frustration with yourself. Mindfulness is really about accepting that the thoughts and feelings that we have are part of normal human experience and that they don't necessarily mean something bad about us. It's normal to feel anxious sometimes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in danger. Mindfulness is about learning to accept emotional cues that we experience all the time without overreacting to them.
So to have those thoughts and feelings, observe them, but just
Mm-hmm.
don't sort of overreact, and that tends to amplify them, I suppose.
Exactly.
So, okay. Well, I know you're not currently one of the facilitators of the group. Do you know, is it still available here in our clinic?
My understanding is that the mindfulness-based stress reduction group is going to continue to be available through the clinic. It usually runs once per semester and also once during the summers.
Okay.
3 groups rotating throughout the year.
Okay. I know there's a group that meets regularly now across campus related to mindfulness, and so I know they're trying to make more opportunities available as part of our campus wellness initiative. So in addition to our clinic, I think there might be some other options available.
That's great.
So what's the future hold for you? Can you tell us where you're off to next? I know you won't be on campus a lot longer.
Yeah, so I've just recently completed traveling around to interview for internship, which is the capstone to getting your clinical PhD. So I'll be moving somewhere for a year and hopefully get more experience learning how to incorporate mindfulness into both my therapy experiences and research.
Okay. Any advice you'd have for students in the class who might want to learn more about this or might want to follow a career path that you're on, or speaking to our, say, undergrads at OSU, what advice might you have?
Sure. A couple of things. One is really plug into the department resources that you have. There's lots of great researchers and skilled clinicians in the psychology department here at OSU. So meeting with them and talking with graduate students, getting an idea for what a career path in psychology can look like, because there are lots of career paths to choose from. And getting research experience by volunteering in a lab, if you think you might want to become a psychologist yourself, would be really valuable.
Okay, well, Matt, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Thad.